Hi everyone and welcome to FilmDirt. And for this one I'm going to be talking about Superman 4. Now this is a complete cluster of a movie, isn't it? It just seemed nothing went right at all. And it's a shame because the Chris Reeve movies have all had a certain magic behind them. There was, I've said in my previous Superman reviews where they were on to a really good thing, and Chris Reeve was fantastic casting. I don't think they would have got the level of success with the first couple of movies without him. And I don't know what happened here. It just went downhill from Superman 3, didn't it? They should have kept the original crew. They should have kept Richard Donner. They all fell out. We know that story. The producers just couldn't get on with him. Maybe he wanted too much money, and people got a bit tempered, and no one wants to give in. No one wants to admit they're wrong and say sorry for what happened. It's just one of those things. And from a professional standpoint, you want to stand your ground. This is how I want to make a film, and this is what I need to do it, and I'm a professional, and I can't have this and that happen, and just no one was agreeing with each other. It's such a shame because the first two films were awesome, 5 stars surely. I wonder if anyone can give them any less than 5 stars. Then Superman 3 just became far too comedic for me. There wasn't that believability that it was actually happening. Any of this was actually believable. You want to believe, even though it's really, when you think about it, it's ridiculous, the whole scenario of an alien from another planet, and Lex Luthor wants to wants to get on with the real estate plan and then kill Superman as well. It's ridiculous, but you've got to have some believability that it's actually happening, or it wouldn't achieve the classic status that it had. I remember Richard Donner had the word of verimilicity. I can't even say it. I can spell it, but I can't say it. My voice isn't properly pliable to say that word. But and now we've come to part 4 of the saga. At least it's not even a saga, is it? It's separate movies. You've got 1 and 2, which are linked, and they're great, and then you've got a standalone movie in part 3, and I guess you've got another standalone movie possibly here with part 4, even though it's got some returning characters and a returning villain. You can see that the intent was there. There was a story which I believe Chris Reeve co-developed or wrote himself, or part-way wrote. I don't know if it was all him, or maybe he submitted an outline, a synopsis to the crew. It's a good message there with nuclear weapons and having the ability as, he's not a god, but he's got abilities, and he shouldn't really stand back and ignore his father's wishes. I think his father did say you must not interfere, or maybe interfere with history, or was it interfere full stop? I guess you have to let people make their own mistakes. But no, this is modern times. I'm going to try and do what I can. I'm just sitting here with all these abilities and not do anything? Come on. So he tries to ban nuclear weapons, or destroy nuclear weapons. The message is there. And it's a lot of heart in this movie still. I mean, when you watch it, you think, what a cluster, but It's still got some of the qualities from the previous movies, apart from the VFX. There was a distinct effort to get the effects down, to a degree of quality with as much as you can do with front projection and suspended someone on wires, and there's a process, there's a handmade nature of the VFX in this movie where you have to do things creatively to get things to work, and that's all about hiring the best crew. I talked about in my previous review, I reviewed 2001 A Space Odyssey and how great the space effects looked. That's because you've got the right effects people to do the job, through whatever tools they had, and lenses and smearing the lenses with Vaseline, and creative lighting. You have talent in making things look immersive and believable, but none of that happened here. None of that. I don't really know Sidney J. Furie's previous work, and I don't think I've seen any of his films, but I've read interviews with people over the years, that worked on this movie, and his previous work was admirable. He was a good director. It just didn't, when you imagine certain ingredients have got to fall into place to make things work, and it just didn't happen here. So just terrible special effects, and you believe the man could fly in the previous movies, but in this one you don't. You can see it's just cobbled together almost. It's not just the VFX and all the technical aspects, it's the story as well. That's the responsibility of the director. Or was the director handcuffed almost? Was he trying to work but couldn't? And maybe there was interference from others, lack of money, and we've got to just get the film out by any means possible. It doesn't matter about quality control. It's such a shame here. I heard a lot of the film was cut. There was two Superman creations, wasn't there? You got the Nuclear Man, which was in the film, and you got another guy. And I saw cut scenes of him, and it looked terrible. Nothing against the actor. He was there to do a job, and that was the role, but it was poorly realised. I don't want to diss this film too much because I love Chris Reeve and I love Margot Kidder for their talent and characterization and bringing the essence of the roles that we've all read in the comics off the page and onto film. It's just one of those things that unfortunately has taken a sad end to what was a promising series. It could have been a promising series if, I think, Richard Donner stayed on and his writer Tom Mankiewicz, and if the producers could just leave them alone, I guess. Just, you may not agree with all of their decisions and the way they work and how much money they're spending, but you had to do whatever you could to get Warner's to stump up all the money, because at the end of the day, it's Warner Brothers that are going to be, retaining this asset, and they have to stump up the money. I'm sure they had the money. How much money do these big brands have? If it's important, they'll find it from somewhere. I'm not a business graduate, but you find it from somewhere. You beg, borrow, steal, almost. Well, less of the steal, kids, but borrow. I guess you find whatever you need to in a business sense, whatever you want to call it. You raise capital. The pluses are, you can, like I said earlier, you can see the intent here, you can see the message, and they probably thought that they had a good story here, and they went into it in the early stages quite positively, with confidence that, they can get this off the ground and it's going to be another great addition to the series. But it didn't happen. I can only give this movie a 2 stars. I can't give it a 1 star or a no star. I've got to give it 2 stars because of Chris Reeve, because of Gene Hackman, still playing a mad villain. You know, absolutely fantastic character. I love Gene Hackman's films. You know, and he came back and he brought Lex Luthor back. You know, it's the original character. He didn't change anything, did he? And that's good. Yeah, so a couple of other good performances here. You can't give any more than 2 or any less, I don't think, just because the intent was there. I'm struggling to think of any other positives, really. You know, I love the whole themes that this series set up. Boo the villains, and, you know, it's just one of those, you know, fantastic events. You know, whenever it was on TV, you know, it would be one of those that you just sit down and watch. So 2 stars for me, and you know, with a degree of sorrow that I couldn't give it more. That's my review of Superman 4, and just to remind you that, you know, whatever reviews I put on the channel, they're completely unbiased. No free tickets. I'm not in anyone's pocket. I'm not accepting promotional bonuses for good reviews. None of that. None of that from me. It's good of you to join me again for this review, and I'll speak to you again. Take care.